everybody, and welcome to The Real episode number 28. Sorry about that. Zolam here, the sound engineer, had to think quick and put on a rerun because the idiot right here, the Shubster that's talking to you right now, got stuck in traffic. Didn't leave early like she normally does. You know, her normal. I got too complacent, and there was this fantastic anti-Israel and pro-Palestine graffiti on the freeway, on the 10 freeway here in Los Angeles. So of course, 5 out of 6 lanes were blocked just to cover that right now, which I'm not opposed to. It's just not something I was expecting. So this takes on a whole new aspect of some conflicts in the universe. I'm about to start shooting people myself. So anyway, this is That Dog Training Show with Tanya Yarbrough, in case you finally found out that you're lost and you accidentally showed up here. And this is where we talk about the dogs we love and the stupid human behaviors we don't, also known as shubs. So, today's topic is converting stress into motivation. Mostly I'm talking about your dog, but I'm also talking about you. Well, not you personally, but just us human beings. So, this is the deal. I was inspired to talk about this, particular topic this week because this past Thursday, I had my first experience being on a set as a co-trainer for a dog, one of my clients' dogs. He was the primary trainer. I was sort of the coach and the co-trainer on the set for a TV show that I can't talk about. So as soon as the release date is sent out, kind of like getting out of prison, I guess. But as soon as the air date is sent out and all that stuff, I'll talk about it. Actually, I would like to have the owner of that dog come in here, and the dog, because he's actually a service dog, come in here and talk about his experience, and we'll advertise our little puppy that we're so proud of. So anyway, the reason it was inspired me to talk about this in sort of topic about converting stress into motivation when it comes to working with your dog is because when you're on set and when you're preparing for TV or film work, you have to prepare the dog for not just the behaviors itself in a vacuum, but also for all the variations that you may be asked to do on the fly. Also, all the distractions with the lights, the cameras, the people, other dogs running around, because these were not professional dog actors. We were the most professional on the set as far as I'm concerned. So those are the things that we have to kind of, be prepared for ahead of time. And we did really well. We actually, all the scenarios I thought of that they might come up with, I had actually at least introduced the dog to, and the owners had actually done a lot of distraction training to do the behaviors. So in the moment of being on the set, you have a lot of these changes going on, and your job as a person who's working with the dog is to take in the stress of oh my God, I have to now completely change something, or add something to this dog on the fly, in a few seconds or a few minutes, because there's no time to really rehearse today. So we don't have another chance. So it's one of those things where you take the stress of, okay, we need this shot, we need this shot, we need this shot, can you do this, can you do that, and not putting it on the dog and helping the dog be more successful, and turning it into a game instead of turning it into a, disaster. So, and that gives you a hint about what we're going to talk about today. So, it is a constant issue, by the way. Stress is a constant issue in training your dog to behave better, or even to learn to do new things. And this is a very natural occurrence, this stress that comes up, and how we have to learn how to manage it, basically, and make it work to our advantage. So, stress is just goes with the course, right? I mean, training itself is about problem solving. So along with that problem solving of the logistics of what you're trying to teach your dog to do and how fast and how far and all that stuff, you also have to problem solve when it comes to challenges on an emotional level. So managing the stress is important in terms of the fact that stress affects how well the dog and the dog trainer learns. You're learning too. Right? It's not just the dog. It also affects how well behaviors are learned, how well they're learned, okay, and how well they're retained. And it also affects the way the dog associates in terms of working with you. So you have a very stressful time working with your dog, your dog has a negative association now with working with you, maybe in a particular context or in a particular behavior, and now you have kind of gone backwards. And it doesn't help your relationship with your dog either in general. So stress while working with your dog has to be managed appropriately, right? So this means that it's not just about squashing the stress, which would be nice if we could do that in our life, but we can't. And dogs know when you're lying to them. They know when you're trying to hold back. They smell that stuff coming out of your pores. You can't do it, man. I mean, not straight up. You can't do it because it's natural, right? When you're dealing with things that stresses get, felt at any given time. But dogs pick up on this really quickly. So it's our job to recognize it and convert the stress into something positive and motivating as opposed to negative and debilitating. So this is a skill that's not only helpful for us humans to learn, for ourselves, but also for our dogs. So let's get down to the nuts. Here, well, nuts and bolts. Let's not just talk about nuts. Stress can come from the dog. It can come from us. It could be because of the environment, our expectations, the dog's expectations, which they do have expectations, or past learned experiences that were not positive, right? So when it comes to this, we can be stressed from our everyday lives and accidentally put it onto our dogs while we're working with them. I make this mistake quite often, and I should know better. I do Shubster things too. I've told you this from the very first show. I will come home, and training my animals actually calms me down. So I'll make the mistake of immediately trying to train the animals, and I say animals because I have 3 cats and a snake as well. So I start training the animals, but they're like looking at me like, what the heck? Y'all wigged out, so they don't really enjoy that part. I need to wait, right? I need to make sure that I'm cool right now. So we can be stressed because we're also expecting our dog to do just as well as they did yesterday. Or we expect them to do better than they have been doing. Or we expected them to be, kind of like on our way to what is it called? We had a goal in mind, like we do for ourselves. So when we're doing that, we want to make sure that we're not pushing that on the dog. The minute we think about it, the dog picks up on that. It comes out in us. So, and dogs can be stressed because the environment might be overwhelming for them at that moment, or they misunderstand our cues, or they become frustrated because they're not picking up things. Or if you have a very smart, accomplished dog, this happens a lot. Sometimes they become frustrated if something takes them longer to learn than other behaviors. I mean, once you've trained your dog to do a lot of different things, there's a point where your dog sort of have their own expectations of their own, like being able to nail something very quickly. And so I've seen some very accomplished dogs who can do 50, 75, 100 different things, plus directions, plus modifiers, et cetera, with distance and distraction and duration. If you know what I'm talking about, just nod. It's okay. You'll figure it out. But with all these layers, right? And then they come up with something new, and for some reason, that dog just takes a little longer to learn that behavior than they did other things, and they can become frustrated themselves. They expect to win the prize at a certain amount of time, So when it comes to dogs, we can also have them. They kind of be stressed out if they've learned negative associations with a particular context in the moment. Now, sometimes it's superstitious learning, which means you and your dog were, just having a good time, learning something new, and all of a sudden a loud bang happens in the middle of it. Now, if your dog is like mine, who might be a bit nervous about loud bangs, they may accidentally think that loud bang was created by you or created by the behavior or triggered by them, what have you, and now they have a negative association with it. But they can also do, where you are right now, how it smells, how it sounds, how you move, the words you accidentally said that are associated with a negative moment you've had before, like, oh, damn it. I might say that when I drop a treat and it has nothing to do with the dog, but he's freaking out because he hears me yell that at the cats because they deserve it. So that's, it's just one of those things where it's easy to have sort of these accidental negative situations or connotations in the middle of trying to do something positive and fun. Most commonly, though, in my experience, dogs' stress often comes from their humans, us, because they smell this cocktail of awful feelings coming through our pores. I mean, we just stink, right? They read our body language and see the tension in our body. That's what they pay attention to with other dogs. So when they smell it and see it on us, it just kind of triggers them to be cautious, and then that sort of goes in a negative direction. All of these things can cause our dog to fail or feel, if you will, like they are failing. So what's worse is that as stress brings about this sort of vicious cycle of shutdown for both the trainer and the dog, and if it's not, if it's not recognized and managed. So what could have been fun can then turn into something really frustrating. And then the next time you try to train, they're not so willing to do so. And the next time they try to train, they're sort of like running away from you, that kind of thing. And like I said, it can be totally accidental. I don't make judgments. When people come to me and say, I've been training my dog to do such and such, like you told me, and now they run away with this. I don't make any judgments on that, because if the dog actually has a negative association with learning or practicing that behavior, it may not at all be that person's fault. It could be completely accidental so easily. So that's one of those things. I want you to be forgiving of yourself if you experience this with your dogs. Don't think you did something horrible and try not to get more frustrated. Let's solve the problem. So, how to recognize stress when working with your dog. Here we go. Oftentimes, you can tell by your dog's reaction to you. Right? Are they kind of stuttering in the behavior that they know really, really well? Are they kind of, taking their time with it and acting unsure, etc.? Do we find ourselves scowling in disapproval, tensing up our shoulders? Has the pitch of our voice changed? Right? If you're not able to breathe easily or control your breath during training, then you are too tense to train, and you're setting your dog up for failure. So these are some of the little things that you can check in with yourself and see if maybe there's a little stress there that you didn't even recognize that you brought into the situation. And speaking of stuttering, does your dog seem to be distracted with quick head turns and lookaways? Are they reluctant to come close to you? Or are they clamoring to climb all over you? These are signs that the environment is oftentimes too stressful to train right now or in this right this place, even if normally the two of you train in this environment all the time. So it could be something that's normal, but today it's just overwhelming in the environment, and that's just something that, again, may not be your fault at all. You just may need to actually find a way to solve the problem to make it successful. All right. So the little signs of stress, the distraction, the cowering, the shutdowns, the wanting to be all over you and lick your face instead, that kind of thing. Some of those things they're just being jerks, but sometimes it's just stress. So how do we manage this and convert it into something positive, which is the whole point of this show? The first step in resolving this problem with a potential shutdown is recognizing whether you're stressed or not. Focus on you first. It's all about you, right? If you're stressed, don't start training until you're calmer. If you need to pour a cocktail, you need to just take off your work clothes, you just need to do your thing. To detox from the training from the day before you start training your dog. That's super important. Just walking with your dog first before you start training will help both of you focus and get in tune with each other. It's kind of sort of like, hey, let's just check in with each other in sort of a structured way, right? So I suggest that you do that first. Or I also suggest you play if the walk didn't help you calm down. Just do a little bit of play. It doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be super vigorous. Just get in communion with your dog and shut her off all the crap that you've put up with that day, like traffic backups because of graffiti. So if you play with your dog, just be sure that you train your dog before you feed them. One of the things you got to be careful of is don't give them all the good stuff before they worked a little bit with you. That's kind of what I want you to say. Just go there. So with that in mind, I just lost my place. I'm looking at it, but I just don't trust myself. All right, here we go. So here's another suggestion for, the whole detoxing yourself kind of thing. Any to-do list that you have in your head, if you're a female like me, you're constantly making to-do lists and then remaking to-do lists because you forgot the first 5 you made that day. So let go of all the to-do lists in your head and promise in your head just 5 minutes of focus with your dog in the moment. That is a huge help for detoxing and getting rid of stress, or at least putting it aside before working with your dog. Don't train until you're both ready. That's basically how it goes. So watch your